Remy Makanjuola is a parenting educator, family life coach, and business strategist on a mission to influence social outcomes by building and strengthening positive family systems. She is the founder of Grace to Parent, a parent empowerment organization that equips with practical knowledge for building strong family relationships using positive discipline and Christ-centered leadership. With an MBA degree and over 12 years of entrepreneurial experience, Remy has established herself as a strategist and business advisor for unique brands looking to service women, wives, and mothers. She is a sought-after speaker, influencer, and author who has been featured on various platforms. Through the Grace to Parent online community, she reaches over 20,000 people weekly with winning parenting strategies. In addition, she is the host of Grace to Parent TV and the Grace to Parent podcast, the creator of the No Shout Parenting Toolkit, an online course that helps parents to parent with more joy, calm, and connection. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Remy Makanjuola as she speaks on overcoming parenting fears.
Hello everyone, my name is Remy Makanjuola. I'm the founder of Grace to Parent, a positive parenting platform that empowers parents to build strong family relationships using positive discipline and Christ-centered leadership. Before I go on, I want to say a big thank you to Mrs. Oluwaseyi Fadairu, the founder of Mom for Real Parenting and the convener of this amazing conference, the Intentional Parenting Conference. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all of you that are watching. Today we're going to be talking about fear, parenting fears, and how to eliminate parenting fears. So first of all, I want to start with fear. We all know what fear is. Fear is, the popular saying, right? FEAR, false evidence appearing real, right? Something that's not really there, or sometimes it is there, but it's not there to the magnitude to which we think, right? And that's why we're afraid. So fear is real, right? But it's also an illusion. And fear is something that we all deal with, especially as parents, and especially because we only know now, right? We only know now, and we are so consumed with now. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We have no control over what's going to happen tomorrow. And that brings me immediately to the antidote for fear. The only thing that can counter fear, right? If we had to just wrap this up in one sentence, like what is the one thing that can help me to stop being a parent that's fearful? What is the one thing that can eliminate this parenting fear that I have? Faith. The only thing that can cancel out fear is faith, okay? And so today we're going to be talking about faith, how to parent with faith, to be a fearless parent, to be a parent that does not make decisions based on fear, right? Even though we feel fear, we want to be parents that are not pushed by that fear in the decisions that we make for our children, and I'll explain why. So if you're like me, you're probably thinking, okay, you're probably trying to figure out, okay, what are all the fears that I feel, what are all the things that make me afraid for my children? If I'm trying to eliminate the fear, then you have to pinpoint the fear, right? If you don't, then you don't know, if you don't know what the fear is, then you don't know how to stop. So let me help you pinpoint your fears. So there are a few different things that can make you afraid, right? When it comes to parenting. The first one is a fear of who you were, okay? A fear of who you were, like what your upbringing was, what your past was, those things, right? So you have a fear based on the experiences you've had, and then you have a fear based on the experiences you're having currently. So who you are. The first one is who you were, and the second one is who you are. And the next thing that makes us fearful as parents is who our child is going to become. Right? Who our child is going to become. So today I want us to focus on who our child is going to become, right? I understand that our past experiences, speak to what we are presently, and then our past experiences also affect how we behave going forward, right? So your past affects your present affects your future, right? So it's really, really important to deal with who you were. It's important to deal with, and dealing with who you were is simple. It's not complicated. It's actually very simple. It's really just accepting that that's who you were. And not even who you were as in this is who I was, but it was my experience, right? Having a knowledge of that, understanding that who you were is who you were. It has nothing to do with who your child is. It ended with you. Those experiences were yours, and your child cannot replicate those experiences because they're not you. And those experiences are gone, right? Having a hold of that, a mental hold of that, now helps you to be present in your present, right? And helps you to proceed into your future the right way, okay? So the first thing is who you were. The second thing we're afraid of is who we are currently. And the third thing we're afraid of is who our children will become, because that's the one thing that we don't know. We know who they are right now, right? And for the most part, we can control that because they're under our wings. We tell them what to eat, when to eat it, and how to eat it. We determine everything, really that goes on with our children now. So the fear is not really for the present. The fear is that who they're going to become, right? So let's talk about the fear of who your child is going to become. Right. So sometimes that fear, we can split it into three things, right? Let's talk about. The first thing is we're afraid of what will happen if our children don't follow all the rules that we have for them right now, if we don't guide them the right way, right? The second thing is we're afraid of who they'll become if we can't control, the thing that makes us the most fearful as parents is when they leave us, then we no longer have control. And that is a scary place to be for a parent. But we're going to talk about control, right? Because we want to talk about how we can actually guide our children right now without actually controlling them, okay? The third thing is that we're afraid of with our children is how does how does their behavior portray you as a parent? Okay, and I know that you guys can relate to this because this is me literally talking to myself and countless other parents, right? So we're afraid of what would happen if our children don't follow our rules. We are afraid of what kind of person they will become when they're out of our control, and we're afraid of what image our child's behavior portrays of us, right? Like I said before, the only thing that can counter fear is faith, okay? But it's important for us to really lay a foundation for what fear really is, so that when we go in, we know what we're demolishing and we can just piece it apart with faith, right? Okay, so acceptance, knowing and accepting that feeling of fear is very, very important. So we're talking about now, we're going into the ways to be present in our fear. And I know that sounds crazy, but honestly, we just need to be present in our fear. So the first thing is accepting and acknowledging that you have this fear, acknowledging who you were before, acknowledging who you are now, and accepting who your child is going to become, right? Accepting that, have faith and acceptance that my child is going to turn out well, right? And we're going to come to that. I'll tell you why I'm so sure that your child's going to come out well in a minute. So acceptance and acknowledgement is first thing. Being present, just being present in now. Don't let fear rob you away from your now. The only thing that you're sure of is now. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You have no idea what's going to happen next minute. It's only one person that does, God, right? No matter what your faith is, the truth is you did not create yourself, right? And you cannot control what happens the next minute. There's time is in somebody else's hands and it's not in yours. No matter how much you love your children as a parent, you can't control time, right? So present, you want to be present. You want to be present in your fear. You want to be present in the now. You want to be present for your child right now, right? And you want to maintain your power because you have power. The thing is, when you allow fear to take over you, it robs you of your power. right? So you want to face the truth of who you were, face the truth of who you are right now, and face the truth of who your child is going to become, trusting that they're going to be everything that you are working for them to be, and trusting that there's something in them, right, that a light that is going to continue to shine, right? And we're going to go into why I'm so sure again, why am I so sure that all of this is going to work out well. Okay, so let us now go into how to practical ways, right? How to build up your faith, because like we said in the beginning, the only antidote for fear is faith. The only antidote for fear is faith. Now I have a three-step plan, three simple things that we can do to eliminate parenting fears, right? We already talked about what those parenting fears are, and now we're going to talk about how to eliminate those fears. The first thing that you want to do is plan. We already know that fear is present. We already know that fear is a thing. We already know that that there are things in our lives, in our past, in our present, and in our children's future that we're afraid for. And we already know, we know why we're afraid of those things, right? But now we're going to talk about faith. But before we go into faith, I want to talk about why. I want to talk about your why. If you ask any parent the purpose of parenting, if I asked you, and I'll give you like 2 seconds, just think about it. What is your purpose for parenting? What do you think the purpose of parenting is? I'll just give you a moment to just think about that. What do you think the purpose of parenting is? All right, I'll tell you. The purpose of parenting is simply to raise an adult. Simple. Is to raise an adult. And if you think about what encompasses an adult, what makes somebody an adult, right? A whole adult, a wholesome adult is an adult that when you're an adult, you're now self-reliant, right? You're no longer looking to your parents, your peers. You're no longer looking to anyone outside of yourself, right? Everything that you need is within you, God within you, right? And your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, all within you. So you're no longer looking to an external factor to decide for you anymore. That is what an adult is. And all we're trying to do as parents, every single one of us, we're trying to deliver wholesome adults, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, in all ways and all capacity, whole adults into society. In a nutshell, that's all we're all trying to do. Rich, poor, black, white, gray, brown, olive, wherever you're from, whatever you do, we all have one common goal as adults, as parents, is to deliver adults into the society, whole adults, right? Adults that can fend for themselves, adults that can make good choices, that can do the right thing, adults that can connect with God that is within them, adults that whose spirits are subject to the spirits of God, adults whose minds are attuned, adults that are stable, grounded, and productive, right? And so we're talking about our why. And so if that is our parenting purpose, now let's talk about our why. Your why is tied to your purpose, right? So why is that important to you to deliver a wholesome adult to society, right? That's something that's unique to everyone. But let me tell you something. Let me ask you this. What drives your why? What drives your why? Okay, we all have whys. The whys are unique to everyone, but there's something that drives your why. There are only two things that can drive your why. It can be faith and it can be fear. So we've talked about fear, and we know that fear is a horrible driver for your why, because fear would make you make irrational decisions. Fear will make you make impatient decisions. Fear will allow you to be overly harsh. Anything that's driven by fear is just not good, because the Bible says fear is not of God. right? It says God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. So if God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, then where did fear come from, right? So fear is not something that you want to be a driver for your why. The best driver for your why is faith. The thing that gets you going, that motivates you, that helps you to make decisions when it comes to your parenting should be faith, right? And to do that, there are three things that I would recommend. The first thing is to plan, right? Remember I told you very simple. First thing is to plan. Know where you started from, and that's why we started talking about fear, because our fear is based off of where we're coming from, who we were, right? Who we are right now, and who we think our children are going to be, right? And so plan. First of all, know where you started from. It's so important. You cannot build a house without planning. If you think about your child, if you think about your parenting as a garden, you can't just, farmers don't just, their garden, they don't just throw seeds in the ground and just do whatever. They plan. They plant the right seeds in the right season. They cultivate it in certain ways. The way you treat a banana tree is different from how you treat a tomato tree, or it's different from how you treat a spinach tree. Like, it's different. How you cultivate, the kind of soil that you put one in may be different from the other. So planning is so important, even in parenting. And to plan, you can't possibly plan for where you're going, right? Of the kind of child you want to raise, or the way you're going with your child, if you don't even know where you're coming from, where you started from. You need to know where you're starting from. You need to know what hurt from your past is holding you back on making present day decisions for you. You need to decide what kind of parent you want to be. You need to plan what kind of parent you want to be. And if you're thinking, well, I'm like 20 years into this game, I'm 15 years into this game, I'm 4 years, 2 years, whatever it is, wherever you are on your parenting journey, it's never too late. You can start today planning. Okay, let go of the hurt and embrace the lessons. These are the ways that you can plan. These are practical ways that you can begin to plan and activate your faith, right? Plan your parenting. These are ways that you can start eliminating your parenting fears. Let go of all the hurts and embrace the lessons. Are there things in your past that just when you think about them, it makes you feel vulnerable, it makes you feel angry, it makes you feel less, it makes you feel afraid, it makes you feel incompetent, it makes you feel less than who you know that you were called to be, or who you know that you were made to be. It makes you feel less of the human, the parent that you were called to be. Right? Let go of all those hurt and embrace the lessons. In every experience, there's always a lesson. Right? There's this quote I love so much, and I think it says, only never failures, only lessons. No matter what you're failed in or you think you failed in, if you think about it truly, the fact that you're still here means that you didn't fail. It means that there were only lessons, and if you don't take those lessons, that's when you fail. Okay? So let go of the hurt and embrace the lessons. Be propelled by faith and not fear. Turn off your fear, activate your faith, and we'll talk about how we can really activate our faith. Just a minute. And remember I told you that, I was so sure that your children are going to turn out well. I was so sure that things are going to work out well. I'm so sure that your past and your present is not going to affect the kind of child that you're going to have, right? And here's my assurance, here's my anchor, here is what keeps me going when I on my parenting journey, when I stumble, when I slip up, when I do things I'm not supposed to do, when it seems like I'm failing, when it seems like I'm just not getting it right, I hold on to this scripture that says, my children are taught of the Lord, and great is the peace of my children. If your children have peace, if your children have peace, you have double peace, right? If your children have peace, it means that you have peace. So the prayer, if God is the teacher of your children, it's an assurance that your children will have peace. And that means that they turned out well. They turned out exactly how he wanted them to turn out. It means that their experiences are completely guided by him. It means that experiences are falling in line, right? It means that even when they go through hiccups, it means that there are lessons that they are supposed to learn as well, right? So turn off your fear, and activate your faith. Now, another thing that in planning that really helps you is think about what could have helped you as a child or in your own past. What are some things that could have helped you? One of the things that people, when people ask me, like, I just don't know how to be there for my child, where I just like butting heads and I just don't know what to do. And I just tell them, it's so simple. And you're probably going to hear me say this a lot. It's so simple because I really truly believe that parenting is meant to be enjoyed. Parenting is like a garden. And gardening is an art, right? It's not supposed to be chaotic. It's supposed to be like a beautiful symphony. I truly believe that parenting is like gardening. It's like tending your child's garden. So it is rain, right, that grows flowers, not thunder. And that's how I think about parenting. I think about parenting as a beautiful garden, with raindrops falling to make sure those flowers are getting all their nutrients and they're growing and all those kinds of things. So think about what could have helped you in the past. What could have helped you as a child? When you're wondering, when you're so consumed with fear of what your child is going to become and all of these things, and you're just not sure, how do I show up for my child in this area? Maybe your child is struggling with something and you just don't know how to show up. Think about you as a child. Who did you need when you were a child? And be that person for your own child. Be that person for your own child. So think about what would have helped you as a child, right? We're still in the planning stage, okay? Before we go in with the bazookas, right? We have to understand and we have to plan. We don't just go in. Faith requires planning. It requires setting some things so that when the troubles of the world come, you're secure, right? So if you didn't plan and you were walking along the street one day and you found some seeds and you're just like, oh, you know what, I'll plant this, or and you just go and you just see this sand, this sand ground, just loose sand, like the beach sand, and you just go and throw your seeds in there. Guess what? They won't grow. That's not faith. Faith is intentionally saying, okay, these are the seeds I want to plant in this season. Then you buy those seeds. And then you go and study what kind of soil would help this seed to grow. What kind of area, what kind of place, like does it grow better in Lagos, or does it grow better in the Americas, or does it grow better in England? Where does this seed grow? Where is the place that this type of tree grows best, right? And you find yourself in that place, and you dig the ground and you do all the things, you till the ground and you do all the things that are necessary for that seed to grow. That's planning, right? So faith is never by accident. Faith is never by accident. Faith is is a strategy, and there's no strategy that just happens, right? So again, think about what could have helped you as a child. Write those down. What could have helped you in the past? Write those down. What are the things that you know now that if you had known when you were a child, if you had understood better when you were in the past, could have helped you along your life's journey? Write them down. What could have prevented, if you had like rough experiences or some bad experiences or some hiccups or some slip-ups, what could have prevented those experiences from becoming your reality? Write them down. What lessons can your children learn from your experiences, from your life experiences? This is something that I'm really, really passionate about, and I always try to encourage parents, because one thing that parents, we know how to do, in the name of protecting our children, right? We try to protect them from our past, but the truth is that you have to be vulnerable about your past. You have to be vulnerable about your experiences. Tell it to them as stories. Don't be afraid of your story. Sometimes we don't tell our stories because we ourselves haven't come clean with ourselves and we are afraid of our stories. But there are lessons in your story. If your child doesn't know, the best way to teach your child about money is to teach them, is to tell them a story of how you came, whether into money or out of money, or whatever money lessons you've learned along the line. Tell it to them as stories. The best way to keep your child from doing the atrocities that you did when you were little, tell it to them as stories. Don't hide it from them. Tell it to them as stories, okay? Of course, in a guided way, and it depends on how old your children are and things like that, but share your life experiences with your children. But don't just share them. Remember, we're planning, right? We're strategizing. So share it to them as stories. Pull out the lessons. Be intentional about the lesson. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember in Nigeria, I grew up on Tales by Moonlight, right? If you guys remember Tales by Moonlight, it used to be stories, I remember, I think it was once a week or something, maybe Saturday or Sunday evenings. And the lady would tell stories, folk tales, but there was always a lesson. And at the end of the day, she would tell us the lesson. And some of those lessons we still remember because of the story that it was tied to. So tell your children stories, but bring out the lesson. Make sure you highlight the lesson, not the fear. Sometimes we tell our children stories, but we don't even tell them the whole story. We tell them patches of the story and we highlight the fear and we transfer the fear to them. So they don't even know the real story. They don't know the truth. All they know is that don't go to this thing because if you touch it, it will kill you. If you touch it, it will do this. If you do this, this will happen. We highlight the fear. It's time to start highlighting the faith. Okay? It's time to start highlighting the faith by sharing the lessons that our children can learn from our life experiences. Now, let me ask you this. I'm just wrapping up this planning session, is if your life experiences are currency, how rich are you? If your life experiences the currency, how rich are you? If you think about the experiences from your childhood, the experiences of your present, even now as an adult, those are treasures that you can transfer. Those are treasures that you can give your children. Those are treasures that you don't want them to die with you. You don't want to go through life without your children knowing those treasures. Those are hidden treasures. Like, you need to reveal those treasures to your children intentionally. All right, so we're talking about planning our faith, right? Eliminating our parenting fears. Using faith. Faith is the only antidote for fear, okay? The next stage is to prioritize, right? Prioritize. And now we're going into the strategies for faith. Prioritize. The one thing that I recommend prioritizing, if you had to prioritize one thing, and if you do this one thing, it covers everything. There's nothing that's excluded, is if you prioritize peace. Prioritize peace. Peace in the relationship with your children. Prioritize peace in your own heart. When you prioritize peace in your heart, within yourself, you automatically are always activating your faith. You automatically are always quieting down fear. Fear has no chance to stand where there's faith, where there's peace, because the MO of fear is anxiety, is unsettledness, is restlessness. But when you prioritize faith, when you prioritize peace, that's all. Like, if there's one thing that I want you to take on every single day, every single interaction with your child, when you prioritize peace, it's like problem solved. Okay? Prioritize peace. And when you prioritize peace, you are propelled by faith. And so you respond. You don't react. You respond. When your child does something that you don't like, you see that you're responding, you're not reacting. Usually when we react, our brain goes ahead. The logical side of our brains, goes ahead before the empathy, before love kicks in, right? So prioritize peace. When you prioritize peace, you respond and you don't react most of the time, right? When you prioritize peace too, you begin to build that strong relationship, because the truth is, everything we're afraid of for our children, in our past, in our present, and for our children's future is highlighted or heightened. That fear is heightened because of a lack or a weakened relationship with our children. When you are in communion with your children, when you are in relationship, when there's a trust parent-child relationship, that fear goes away. It reduces until it becomes non-existent. Your children trust you. They can tell you anything. They can talk to you about anything. They know that no matter what, you have their back. right? And you also have a peace because you know the extent of the kind of things that your child can get into. And you know that even if your child went strayed, you know that you can reel them back in. You know that there are foundations of things that you have put in them that they just need to find themselves in the right place. And those things will come back to surface. Okay? Another thing that you want to prioritize when you're trying to eliminate fear is family time. Family time is one of the best ways to build relationships. Times that you intentionally craft out, and this is the intentional parenting conference, right? So everything we're talking about here is how to be more intentional. Like I said before, faith is planned. Faith is not random. It doesn't just happen. It takes a conscious effort and conscious decision, right? So family time, guard your family time. Make it something, not the time where family time is not just like, make mundane times like normal, we're just chilling in the house or whatever it is you're doing. Make it intentional. Make it stand for something, right? So prioritize family time. And the third thing that I want to talk about in activating or eliminating your fears by activating your faith is pray. Pray. This is why I'm so sure that our children are going to turn out well. It's because we have an anchor in Jesus Christ. If we just pray. Honestly, the prayer, it sounds like a cliche. Prayer is the key, right? But it really is. Prayer is the anchor of everything. If you plan, you prioritize, and you don't pray, then your efforts may come to nothing, because the only one that has your plans and your priorities in his hands and can make it go however he wants is God. So pray about everything. I have a friend and she prays about everything. One of my best friends. She prays about everything. And same for our children. We need to be praying for everything that you're afraid of, write down and pray about those things. Pray for their emotional health, pray for their mental health, pray for their financial health, pray for their marriages, pray for their education, pray for their academic education and their street education, pray for their wisdom, pray for their spiritual life, pray for their generations, pray for their children's children, pray for their spouses, even though your child is only 2, pray for their spouses, pray for their children, pray for if you have daughters, pray for your daughter's pregnancies. Like there's some things that there may be times that we're not going to be there. I pray that all of us that are listening here today, or whenever you're listening, I pray that with long life, the Lord will satisfy us and show us the salvation. But there's some places that you cannot physically go with your children, but your prayer has gone before you. So pray. Very, very, very important for us to pray. So that is what I have. I hope that has been really helpful. Like I said, the first thing we talked about was establishing the case for fear, right? Fear is something that we shouldn't deny. Fear is something that we know is there. There's no, we can't deny it because it's there, right? But you don't have to live your life propelled by it. You don't have it doesn't have to control your why. Faith can control your why. You eliminate fear by acknowledging it and putting it in its place. And that's what this planning and prioritizing and praying will do. I hope this has been helpful. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you very much, the entire Mom for Real parenting platform. Thank you to the entire team. Thank you for having me. And I hope this was helpful. So I'll see you guys in the comments. Thank you.